Hey gang, so in the last video we had started working on this hero controls and gotten to a point where we have our move buttons displayed. And they're not doing anything yet, and they don't have any text or anything, so they're kind of hard to read. But we're gonna make the rest of this component appear in this video, and then in the next video we're gonna work on wiring it up to update the position of the hero. So let's get started on those move buttons, and what we need to do is just flesh those out a little bit. We've got our hero controls, we've got our button containers and our rows, and now we just need to make these move buttons. So right now there's just a button there, just a default div, and not any styling. So let's start with the styling. And what we can do is have a base move button class, and we'll say width of 10 rems. We'll give it a margin top of just 20 pixels. Let's just make that rems, so like about 1.2 rems. And we'll say margin left similarly, and we'll say box sizing, border box. We'll add a bunch of padding to these guys so that the text is offset from the border, and give them a border radius, and we'll say border none. You know, I'm just gonna say this for mine. You can do yours however you like. You can give them a drop shadow or anything else. And I'm gonna say for the default color here, I'll just say white. Maybe I'll say gray. I'll say something like that. Just neutral, but we're gonna color each one of these buttons. And we'll say, I'm gonna say font weights of 600, nice and chunky, and I'm going to make these all uppercase, nice and legible, and I'll give it a little box shadow, give it like a black box shadow of like 0, 8, I need that comma, and then we'll just give it RGBA of 0, 0, 0, and just the slightest amount of opacity, so we'll barely be able to see that. I always want to say cursor pointer and outline none, and I'm not going to have a transition. We're not going to do any CSS animations. But, you know, so this is basically taking that default button style and making it look nicer. So similar to what you're used to with your Bootstrap stylings. And we can take a look at this move button. We'll import styles. From movebutton.module.css, and we'll go ahead and add that. That was a move button, I think. We'll add that to this button here, and we'll just say class name equals, what was it, styles move button. Oops. Move button. And then in here, we'll just have some default text. Let's take a look and see what we got. All right, so now we've got buttons. And what we need to do is have that text be specific to each button. We need to have them control the movement of the character, each a little bit differently. And then we're going to want to give them each their own color. And the way that I propose we do this is to give each button a direction. So what we'll do is say something like, in our class name, we can say styles.move button, and also styles at direction. And this direction will come in up here. So each move button will end up with a direction. And you can see that's breaking my code pretty well. There we go. So that's back. But we're seeing that this isn't working. What did I do wrong? So I forgot to put a $sign here. And now we got that back. What I need to do is have this styles at direction. And so this direction, we're going to say these directions are going to be up. Will be like left, right, up, and down. And those directions can come in from our hero controls, right? So we're going to pass into each one of these. We'll have a direction. And that direction is going to be coming in. Actually, it can just come in right here, I think. So this direction will be up. And, you know, these directions could come in from elsewhere if we wanted to. And we may want to refactor that at some point. But for now, I'm just going to have them come in from here. So we'll have up and down, and then left and right. Okay, so in our move button, we'll get a direction in. And we're looking for styles at direction, which doesn't exist yet, but we can write that here. And so in here we can say up, and we can say left and right and down, right? And then for our colors, I'm just going to copy and paste the colors I had before because they're pretty good. You can pick whatever colors you want. And so I'll have for my up, and for my down, and for my left, and for my right. Good. And so that's there. And now for the color of the text, we probably want to change that text color. That doesn't look so great there. I'm going to make that be bright white. And there we go. So that's better. So now we can see. Oh. And we see it's just still saying text. Instead, what we wanted to do is say, I bet you guessed it, direction. Look at that, up, left, right, and down. Very nice. And one more thing I want to do is probably add a hover state to each one of these. So I am just going to intensify the current color. So this is kind of a light red. I'll say up, hover, and give it a color of darker red. So now when we hover, and I think because of this video recording, my browser's being real slow, but it does hover. And we'll add a left hover as well and a down hover. And so for the left hover, I'll just give a darker purple. For the right hover, I'll give a darker blue. And for the down hover, I'll give a darker green. Now, you know, this palette could probably use a little bit of work. And it could be that there's a programmatic way with JavaScript to kind of pick these hover colors based on some kind of chromatic key, etc., etc. But it just seems like more trouble than it's worth for such a simple thing right now, to me. But if you want to explore that, there's a great color library actually called chroma.js that I use for a lot of stuff. And you can do all kinds of color wheels and scales and palettes, and it's really pretty nifty. But I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to make my colors by hand like I did, and voila, we've got our buttons. Now, the thing we need to do is also, of course, have these buttons have an, so I'll just reformat this code a little bit. We need to have a on click. And we'll do this in the next video, but before we get started with that, I want you to think a little bit about how you might do that yourself. Because it might be that you do it better than me. It might be that, it would definitely be that just thinking about this problem could be interesting, could be a nice challenge for you. So before I do it, see if you can do it. See if you can make each one of these move buttons update the hero. So what we want to do is something like, oh, I don't have it right now, but we want to be able to click on one of these buttons and make that unicorn move. So we're going to want to update the hero position when we click on a button. And this is a thing that we've talked about before. This is a great case of where we need to lift some state up to an app. Oh, there's our state in our app. We need to modify that state in this half of the app and update this half of the app. So this is a great example of why it's good to keep your state in one centralized repository of state. And as we go forward, this will become a great rationale for having Redux. And I'm going to show you, we're going to kind of do it without Redux, and then we're going to do it with Redux later. And, you know, what we make here is perfectly manageable because we don't have that much state. Our app's not that big. But I hope it'll also show you how and why using Redux can be great in a bigger app, and like just a real time and mind saver. All right, so in the next video we're gonna make those buttons work.